You're on.
Okay. I'd like to call this caucus meeting to order. Like I said, Dallas, when you get down to committees, your committee's got to convene to add number 8.
Yes, sir.
Okay, need a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the second regular meeting dated Wednesday, September 22nd, as prepared by the clerk. 3 pieces of communication. Questions or comments on communication? Mayor's report. Mayor Miller, which do you wish to do?
I'm going to give mine in the meeting if that's okay, but if anybody has any questions.
Yeah. Is there any questions or comments for the mayor at this time? She's going to give a report on the floor.
Is this a little bit later on getting roads paved?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yes and no. We have to wait till we get it.
Yeah. When's the money released to us?
We have
July,
most of
right?
it. It's twice a year we get advances, and they are spaced out over a couple months. We've gotten all of our advances. We haven't gotten a settlement yet, so we've got the majority of the money we're going to get at this point now.
But Dave, isn't it usually we're waiting for July for some reason to maybe send out the bid?
July is when
I think
the
that's when we
state
get the,
budget starts.
when we get,
The money
How
from
much we're gonna
WBA
get.
lets us know what
Okay.
our
and
match
if it's
is.
been approved. So we already got approved for next year's,
Okay.
and I think that happened in the
We
July.
could start in the spring, but then you would have to cancel this year's and start next year.
I thought there was something with like our match that we couldn't go out until July. Apparently I'm wrong. Nobody else thinks that, obviously.
We obviously
Thinking of something
here's-
else.
I think what happens is I need to certify the funds. There's an auditor certification of the money in the funds, and I can't legally sign that till I get a certain amount of money. So I think that's probably why,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, I thought-
when we get that enough of the advances in the second part of the real estate payments, we usually go then.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments for the mayor?
No.
Okay, if none, standing committees, Dallas, your committee want to convene to,
You want us to convene right now?
yeah,
Okay, I'd like to call Finance and Legislation meeting to order. Mr. Carselli,
here.
Mr. Burnside,
Here.
and I'm here. All right, we have one piece of legislation to pass, an ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids for the purchase and application of crack sealing in various city streets for a sum not to exceed $20,000, and the Board of Control to enter into a contract with the lowest and best bidder and declaring an emergency. Do I have a motion to bring it up? Or does anybody want to speak
Would that
on
be
it?
put on this year?
Yes.
It's not
Motion.
too late to do that.
No, actually, it's better when it's cooler because,
Okay.
It won't stick to your tires and go all over.
yes.
Okay, great.
Otherwise, you gotta put sand and water and everything down as soon as you put it down and then.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Need a motion to bring it up?
Second.
Second. On this too, I'm really glad you guys decided to move forward with this. I think it's really important. Especially, we're trying to, every year we were, my only question with this is, the streets that you are gonna put on this list, and I guess this would be for Tim because you have the most experience. The streets that will go to this list.
Probably be 2 to 3 years paved.
Pay. That's what I wanted. That's very important because in the past, they've only been able to get a handful of streets done because they were doing streets that were past their prime.
Right.
So you're only extending the life by a few years. If we focus on things that are rather newer, I feel like we'll get a lot more. First of all, we'll get a lot more crack sealing done, and it'll last a lot longer. So that's great.
I think in the future, we gotta start thinking about at least adding one dead-end road to the streets. My street hasn't been
We got
paved
cells.
since I've lived there.
This year we have cells, next year
Yeah, well, I mean, I think we need to make a point to do that,
goes
though,
on there.
because I have a lot of dead-end roads in my ward,
Right.
and they ask
Yes,
me a
you do.
lot of time, they said their streets have not been paved in probably 20, 25 years. So and my street alone has probably 10 repairs on it from broken lines.
Water lines.
So, I think we need to look into that and at least get one on the list a year until those are done. I know they're not well traveled, but they travel them every day.
I think this is really important to keep the integrity of the roads that we're replacing and make them last as long as we can.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, next year we have Prospect is in there next year.
What about, Tim, what about Morrison off Poland Avenue? That's
Morrison?
I think that's on the list
Next
for
year.
the future, but next year we have
Thank you.
West Harvey from 8th to Young Stumphorn Road.
Yeah.
We have West Creed from 5th, so pretty much all 5th or West Creed, 5th Street to Young Stumphorn Road, Prospect from Louisville Road to Hayward, Como from Oregon to Garfield, Woodbine from Chestnut to 616,
That's it.
and that's it.
okay. We'll go up Morrison.
I believe we have that on the list for the following year.
Following
Because the following year for 2023, we also have Elm and Center.
Okay.
And
Because
I'd
we're gonna
like
be
you
getting
to
county
look
road.
at Lincoln too, because that's real bad,
Okay.
Lincoln.
You guys are still following a grading system, I assume?
Okay.
Anything else for this, this committee? Call for adjournment,
Motion adjourned.
second?
Second.
You-
Okay. Okay, report of standing committees.
Finance and legislation for October 20th.
11. Or 20, you're right.
Yes,
sorry.
we are.
No worries. October 20th at 6 o'clock, unless
Yeah.
somebody else is going, has to go too. That we need me. 6 o'clock.
Any other committees? If none, going down to legislation, we have 9 pieces of legislation. Any questions or comments? Number 1 will go to probably a 3rd reading, and then number 9 will go to pass as well. Questions or comments?
Yeah, if we can. I was not here last week, and I understand we have quite a few pieces on pertaining to Mr. Rudzik. Can we just touch on it for 5 minutes and bring me up to speed?
I didn't come last week. I couldn't get on the
I
video.
got filled in a little bit from Megan and Mr. Carcelli, but again,
I think John would probably be the best one to highlight.
Certainly.
I like that idea too.
Start with number 4. I think that's where you want to start.
Okay.
Okay, so this is we're not doing anything new here. We actually have this on the books, and it relates to public nuisances, criminal activity, constant criminal activity going on in property. We are amending the section. In the main amendments that are being made to it are 1, instead of there having to be 3 nuisance activities within a year, we shorten that period to 3 nuisance activities within a 6-month period. So if there's if there's an occurrence of any of the activities highlighted in what would be 532.01B, that list, then we can deem the property to be a nuisance activity. Additionally, under our current legislation, the chief of police is responsible for notifying the property owner that his property is his or her property is potentially a nuisance property. And that it has become a nuisance property. That's going to be shifted to me. I'll take that responsibility, just because of I think the evaluation that
Are
needs to
you
go into.
solely taking that on, John? Or will the police chief still be able
No,
to?
it'd just be me.
Okay.
So we'll get him out of that. I'm sure you won't mind. Now, once a property is declared a nuisance activity, the whole point of it is we're not going to use our services to go constantly deal with the same property all the time. So, bless you. So we'll be able to go after the property owner for the cost of any services that we render to the property, just like we've been doing. Additionally, the property owner can receive a fine based upon the number of nuisance activities The fines have stayed the same with the exception that I did add before it was for the third and subsequent. Now I did fourth and subsequent, and I made a fine of $2,000 for any fourth or subsequents. Also, one of the major amendments was just to clarify that you don't necessarily need to have a criminal conviction in order for the property to be declared a nuisance. We can rely on police reports, incident reports, and any other city documents that we have. And then I added an appeal process to it, and as discussed at the last meeting, that the appeal has been changed now so that if there is an appeal, it will come to council. And then I shortened the time period from 30 days to 14 days to file the appeal, simply because, and this will be a common theme throughout these, sometimes there's just an urgency to get this stuff moving.
Sure.
And that's really it on that one. So we already have it with some changes.
And the nuisance properties in general, those aren't just pertaining to police reports and things like that. This is your failure to cut your grass. This is any type of...
This is not that. This
Okay.
is disorderly conduct, domestic
So this
violence.
is just criminal.
This is just criminal act, yes. Criminal
Okay.
activity. We'll get into the property ones and
Okay.
one of these other ones.
Sure.
So that was number 6, or
Number 4.
Number 4. Question, Jim? Did you
No,
hear you?
no, I
Now, they have to have all those fines paid before they can appeal them, correct?
Oh, I'm sorry. I spoke with the administration and in particular Chrissy, and after looking at it, because we had that hardship waiver that was in there,
Yes.
we couldn't figure out how to determine who would qualify for our, and you can't just have someone be required to pay the fine if they can't, or the fine if they can't pay it, in order for them to get the right to appeal.
Okay.
So we just took it out completely.
That's
There's
fine.
no, they don't have to pay, and that was in all these ordinances as well. So they won't have to pay the fine up front. They just have to pay a $25 fee for the appeal itself.
That sounds, to be honest, I wasn't here last week. That sounds reasonable,
Yeah.
because you would be asking somebody, you're innocent until proven guilty. You're asking somebody to pay the fine that we don't know for sure that they're guilty of yet, in order to even appeal what they've been accused of.
Correct.
So
And if they did, how it was set up before is there was a hardship waiver in there. If you couldn't afford the fine, you could fill out this form.
That makes a lot more sense.
And we're thinking, how do you determine
Yeah.
that? So, just came out. Any other questions on that?
No.
All right, 5. Now this is a new ordinance, and this is talking about the abatement of public nuisances dealing with real property. Dallas.
Okay?
Again, the 130702 just describes the different nuisance conditions. And then if there is a nuisance, if there's nuisance activity going on, now we changed it from the safety service director to administer this to the code enforcement officer, so this will be his responsibility. So we got property issues there's issues with property, and the code enforcement wants to notify the owner that you've got to abate these nuisances. We're giving you, and again, after talking to Joey, I think it was originally 14, actually we kept that the same, strike that. So Joey will send a letter out giving the property owner 14 days to abate the nuisance. If the nuisance is not abated within 14 days, then Joey has the ability to send out another notice just simply saying, you didn't abate your nuisance. You didn't abate your nuisance within 14 days. We're coming out in 7 days to abate the nuisance, and you're going to be held responsible for the cost. So it's just giving them a little extra heads up that we're definitely coming out after 7 days is up, so do what you got to do. Again, all expenses incurred in connection with the abatement of a nuisance plus a 10% charge for the city's administrative costs will be charged to property owner. Again, there's an appeal That appeal would come here, same thing, 14 days to file your appeal. And this is just, Joey does not have to give the 14-day notice, and then the 7-day notice if it's an emergency. He can go out and just abate the nuisance. And then, in addition, that's really it. That's the gist of it.
I think I was understanding this wrong. So Joey can't just go out and cite somebody at this point. They have to receive 14 days notice?
No, this is something different.
Okay, so this one is completely
This is
different.
just work, this is just, there's bushes at the that are blocking the intersection people can't see. Abate that nuisance on your property, 14 days. If you don't do it, we're sending you out another letter that says we're coming out there after 7 days and we're going to abate it and we're gonna charge you for it.
Okay.
And they're not going through
This
the
is
court.
totally separate
not-
from
and they're
the
not
other.
going
Well,
to
they're
the
not
courts.
going through the court, so you're just
Okay.
going through Joey. Joey's able to do that, we get all monies, right?
That money
That would,
stays.
well, that's gonna be on the administrative funds
That's
when
the
we
other-
get
That's
there.
the
Right.
other one.
And that money will go into the general fund?
Yep, I think that's what we discussed,
Mhm.
but I
Well,
would
you
defer to
can
Chrissy
collect
on
the
that.
money for if he ends up going to do the abatement, you would then collect that money though.
Okay, so
If
same
we have
idea.
to hire
it would
any
still go-
services, so if it's something we can't take care of,
Right,
our street
But he-
department, and we have to hire someone to do it.
Even so,
that
there's
costs.
a price tag on
Comes
an
out of
abatement.
Sure,
Just
but
like cutting grass, boarding at the house.
I guess my thing is, we're not doing that, we're not sending somebody out there to handle that problem for him for free.
No, we would
I'm
still
not-
charge for our services, so if it's
Yes.
grass cutting, boarding up a house, trimming the whatever
Correct.
we have to do.
There's still gonna be a markup on that,
Yes,
obviously.
whether
We're not
it's
just doing
from
people's
our-
work for them.
Right,
Right.
whether it's our
We do
people
it now,
or
but
we have to hire
it goes
someone.
on their taxes.
Yep.
So,
Okay. And that money, the markup portion, or however you wanna say it, that would go towards the general fund, correct?
I think what we talked about was the original way that this is done was it just goes on the taxes for the most part. I think between Joey and I and possibly iWorks, we're gonna try to work something out where he can invoice and try to get them to pay
Okay.
before we go through the trouble of putting it on the
Agreed.
property.
Yeah.
Is that still,
I'm sorry,
His
I'm sorry, I
thinking-
was reading something.
Joey would try to collect the money at least once or twice before we would lien a property.
That, I guess that, we don't really have anything in place for that, that would be something that Joey can come up with, but I believe that was what
Because
we
that, I
generally
mean,
spoke about.
I think
Yeah, he
You
said
might
something
have-
about you creating a new, what, line item
just
or?
a revenue line
Line
item.
item, yes.
We don't need a new fund or anything
Right,
like that.
okay.
It's just simply gonna be a separate spot for
This gives
that.
Joey more teeth
Sure,
instead of going
I'm-
through the court system.
Yes,
Well,
and I'm
remember
for
on
all
this one.
In the court
this-
system, we get a very small portion of that money
Right.
versus,
But
Yeah.
the nuisance is completely.
Yeah, on this one, any money that we get in is mostly going to be money that
Yeah.
cost of abating the nuisance. So if we hired somebody, we paid the expense, and then it's gonna come back, hopefully we get reimbursed for
Sure.
it. Plus our 10% charge. Now, I don't know where that 10% charge would go, that would be something else. That would be our money, I guess.
would that, I'll ask you, Chrissy, would that go into the general fund?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, because
Yeah.
to my knowledge, the best way is to put the things in the general fund and then they can be dispersed towards
Right.
whatever you want,
We
correct?
talked about having a fund that would just solely be for this, but I think the goal is to
Use it whenever,
You
and
know,
the line
yeah.
items easier to
Not
do.
restricted.
not restrict it.
Yeah, what, I mean,
if
obviously
it's in the
general
general
fund
fund,
money
it's
could be
unrestricted.
used for whatever, so that makes the most.
But in the end, I mean, we really just want compliance. We're not trying to make money,
Yeah.
we're not.
No, but at the same time, there needs to be enough skin in the game for these people
Sure.
that
Yeah.
take care of your things, because if we have to come out and do it, it is gonna
To
cost.
make it-
Yeah, I mean, I don't want the
Even
city
if
to
they-
basically structure all this and make a very small amount of money
Right.
for doing all of this.
But I think
you
everybody's
know?
goal is
Compliance.
compliance.
I agree, but you know, the harsher the terms, the more compliance you're going to end up getting.
right now, they don't see it till tax time.
Sure.
That's,
With this, they're gonna see it right away.
Right.
They're gonna,
No, I understand. I
You
think
wanna skip to the next one, John?
everything's
I
okay.
feel
Yeah.
like we're already at that.
And the next one is, and we expect that Joey will, the one we just reviewed, that Joey will do the abatement process, the least often as he has to. The main power that I think he will be exercising is what's in the next ordinance that we'll come to. And this is the one that will allow Joey to issue administrative fines to people where there's housing code violations. This can range anywhere from something that might be trash cans left outside for more than 24 hours, trash cans not put in the right spot, to anything that would require a possible abatement by the city. So you're in violation, we're gonna give you a citation for the first offense. And then now it has, the fine amounts are $100 for the first violation, $250 for a second violation within 1 year, $500 for any subsequent violation of the same ordinance within a year. So it is restricted to a year, and also Joey does not necessarily have, if it's somebody's second violation, doesn't necessarily mean he has to give them $250. He can give them $100 if it's trash cans or something like that.
But also, John, is there a time limit on, let's say somebody doesn't put their trash cans back, he gives them a $100 fine. What is the soonest he can come back and they don't take it back? I mean,
Every day would be a violation.
okay.
So they can get it every day. And theoretically, how the ordinance is written right now, it would be $100 for Monday if it's not out on Tuesday, $250 theoretically.
Yes, I understand.
But again, we wanna use this isn't gonna be
No,
used
I
a
think
lot.
this one, I think
I
this one will
understand.
probably be used more
more
than
than
the
the
abatement
uses
one.
abatement.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably gonna be used a lot, at least at the beginning, until people start getting.
This one, I'll
And
be
it's for
honest,
extreme, like people
Sure.
that we've been over and over
this
and over,
has
and it's
this is
not-
the most important one to me, and honestly, I wanted to get some perspective on it, and when I had read through it, it seemed very harsh to me. But I had reached out and I was explained that there would be an appeals board. Now that makes sense to me, because then we're not just giving one person all this power to go out and find and do these things. These people actually have a third party that corrects. So I'm fine with all this. I think that this is great, and I really hope that it works. And
Well, and even the appeals process too, if you wanna back up to that, is, it's not just our administration. If it's something that they can bring in front of you guys too and say, council, what do you think?
well, I've
Because-
actually,
So we're all on the same page.
I guess
We're all-
my thing is, we are going to actually have a set appeals board the same way we do with zoning, correct?
It's gonna be.
It's gonna be
It'll
council.
But it will be council.
Yes.
Correct.
I think that that's best. Because-
the-
We go on to the next one, and then we'll continue, comments under the,
The last one, again, that's just an ordinance that we have for cutting high grass. I wanted to make a couple changes to it. The big change that I made here was I just required, we amended it a couple years ago because there was concern about notice. But if we're assessing these costs to the real estate taxes, I felt that some sort of notice was necessary, so I said for the first offense, you have to give notice, and then that notice that you give will say, we're not giving you any further notices within the next year. You got your one notice, keep your grass cut, basically. That's really, and then I took out, in the old ordinance, we had the actual amount that would be charged to cut the grass. I took that out and said by resolution of council. One thing we're gonna need to do is, as council, is we're gonna need to determine what you wanna set those fees at, because I'll need to present a resolution so that we have the fees. But other than that, it stays the same.
I thought everybody was in agreement to raise them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I just didn't know what we were raising to.
Well, I think it has to be enough to sting a little, and $100 at this point.
And I don't know if you wanna do $100 a lot, or by size, or how you wanna do it, too.
And I think it should be a flat rate, and if you're at, it'd be in my opinion,
It's gotta be per lot though, cause some of them are double
big
lots.
lots,
Yeah.
okay? But I would definitely raise it up, because literally it costs $50 to get your grass cut if you call somebody.
Yeah.
$100 ain't really a big punishment.
We just wanna get rid of the competition.
I got it, believe me. Yeah. But I think all of this is great, and I think it's important to focus on the fact that even though we gave Joey this power to find people, we gave the property code enforcement agent this power to find people, they do have recourse, and there is a third party that does have to rule on that in the event there is an appeal. And us being the appeals board, we all have something to lose here as well. We want to get voted in and we want to do our job right. So as far as making us the appeals board versus making 3 people off the street the appeals board or 5 people, I feel like this is a much better fit.
It shows better unity.
I do.
All.
I mean, I really think so. Jimmy, what do you think?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Pretty good?
Well, we passed the law, so we should be adherent to them.
Yeah, I'm always nervous though when we give a big portion of power to one person. You know, and us being the appeals board, it's not we're just giving this power and that's end all be all period right there. They can appeal if they feel that something was unfair and we would hear them out. I really feel like that's fair.
But I believe he needed something like this because it was dragging through the court system
I agree.
too long.
This is much better. This is a much better fit. I mean.
Yeah, and as far as giving one person the power, I'll tell you in our office, and I think we're all on the same page. Like
Sure.
when there's issues, when there are extreme cases, when we're dealing with nuisance abatements and things like that, we all kind of sit down, talk about it, figure out what we're gonna do. So it's
Okay.
I understand, but
We
legally,
got 5
I'm
minutes
saying
left, we got the
we're.
rest of this to go through. Okay, so we got 9 pieces there. Dallas's committee had number 8, so we'll have 9 altogether. And like I said, when we get on the floor, we can continue our
No, this was
discussion
fine.
for-
I appreciate it.
No problem. No. Unfinished business. Any unfinished business?
I have something, I'm not sure if it's finished or unfinished, but just giving you guys a heads up. We are looking to change the color of the flag. We got it, I'm not sure if you guys saw it yet. It looks orange and brown. The gray, it kind of looks a little depressed, not what we were going for. So we're trying to get another one with the white background just to compare to see what it looks like. So possibility of bringing that to you guys and saying,
Are you gonna have samples for council?
Yep,
review?
yep.
Okay.
yeah, so just a kind of
Okay.
unfinished, but
Yeah. Cool. Any other unfinished business? New business? Report our law director.
Let me just, Ronnie, you had asked about Sexton Street and you wanted me to tell you what, she was cited.
Okay.
She received two citations for each of the properties. Now, my understanding is just recently, I think she tried to evict them. They recently got a civil protection order against her, apparently. I don't know what's going on, but she called my office and said, I can't do anything with the property because I can't go onto the property because they have a civil protection order against her. But she's been cited, and she's due in court, I think next week for her first appearance.
Okay.
And just even a further follow-up on that, the gentleman that lived in the house previously, he sent me a request on Facebook to like his business. The business address was Fixing Cars, it was at that, it showed that address. He just sent me another request today with a different company and a different address. So I don't know if he has already relocated, I've talked to
In
Tommy
Youngstown.
Lau, so he might be in Youngstown, so he may have already,
Good,
so
that's good.
Okay, is there any other questions or comments for law director? Auditor, Chris?
I have no written report. Any comments I have to make, I'll save for the floor for the purpose of time.
Thank you. Safety director? Tim?
Same thing, I did the report.
Okay. Any questions or comments for our safety director?
I also have a report for code enforcement officer.
Okay. Sounds good. Okay, meeting to adjourn caucus, or motion to adjourn.
Second.
Caucus adjourned.
Oh, we didn't want to go to Mary's and they're so good, I swear. I wouldn't leave your mom
These
down.
are approved by the FDA.
Probably not, but.
2 pound mile, 2 pounds sweet.
Leaking or sweating?
I appreciate you guys going over that with me.
Taking all of our
Sorry I
time
missed
up,
last
Dal,
week.
taking all of our time up.
I think so too. I know.
Mr. Burnside, I misspoke. The new revenue.
Okay, I'd like to call the Struthers Council meeting to order, dated October 13th, 2020, 7:05 p.m. Clerk, you call the roll?
Yes, Mr. Ballack? Here. Mr. Bass is absent. Mr. Beagley? Here. Mr. Burnside?
Here.
Mr. Corselli?
Here.
Miss Greenwood?
Here.
Miss Pinkley? Here. President Patrick?
Here. Stand for the pledge. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before we get into our regular meeting of order, I need a motion to excuse Rick Bayes from tonight's council meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Ronnie makes a motion. Megan seconds it.
Yes. Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Corselli?
Yes.
Miss Greenwood?
Yes.
Miss Pinkley?
Okay, thank you, council. One other comment too. Megan made a suggestion about, and Dallas at your committee meeting night, is going back to 6:15 for caucus. It's, when we get into discussion, I didn't mean to rush council, but maybe the half hour is not enough when we get a lot of discussion and get her out here to set the electronics up to. So can you discuss that when you get into your committee meeting next week?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I need a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the second regular meeting dated Wednesday, September 22nd, 2021, and accept them as prepared by the clerk. Need a motion. Dallas makes a motion.
Motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes?
Ronnie seconds it.
Yes. Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Corselli? Mr. Corselli?
Yes.
Miss Greenwood?
Yes.
Miss Pinkley?
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have 3 pieces of communication tonight. Clerk, can you read number 1?
Number 1, Struthers Tax Office monthly reports for tax collections for the month of September 2021 submitted by Ryan Rogowski, Struthers Tax Commissioner. Number 2, Struthers Municipal Treasurer's cash transaction report for the month of September 2021 submitted by Robert D. Carselli, Struthers City Treasurer. And number 3, Mayor's report dated Monday, October 11th, 2021 submitted by Mayor Catherine Chacon-Miller.
Okay, council, you heard the reading of the communications. I need a motion to receive and file. Dallas makes a motion. Bob Burnside seconds it.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Corselli?
Yes.
Miss Greenwood?
Yes.
Miss Pinkley?
Okay, thank you, council. Mayor's report. Mayor Miller.
I'm gonna stand for this one. So I'm gonna go a little bit off of my report today. As we all know, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we have signed a proclamation, our administration along with council, that I'm going to read. A proclamation, whereas the City of Struthers recognizes October 2021 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Whereas October 2021 marks 36 years that National Breast Cancer Awareness Month has educated women about early breast cancer detection, diagnosis, and treatment. And whereas 1 in 8 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer within their lifetime. And whereas when breast cancer is detected early and is in its localized stage, the 5-year survival rate for women is 99%. And whereas Christina Boll, who serves as our Struthers City Auditor since April 2013, survived her fight with breast cancer, and countless other people living in Struthers are impacted by this disease. And whereas the City of Struthers is committed to supporting prevention, detection, and treatment of breast cancer. Therefore, I, Catherine Chacon-Miller, along with the Safety Service Director and City Council of the Struthers City of Struthers, on behalf of its citizens, recognize October 2021 as Breast Cancer Awareness and present this to our Auditor, Christina Boll. Okay, to the report. Our street resurfacing 2021 will begin on, actually, there's a little change to this, so it's actually, the milling may begin on as early as Friday, this Friday. Please understand that we cannot begin this project until we have the finances on hand. Every year, the schedule depends on that. We will update on social media, on our website, and through our texting program as to which streets will be getting done first, so we have a better idea
when vehicles will need to be removed from the streets affected. Here is the list. We have Parkway Street from Center to Faith, Lakeshore Drive from Poland Avenue to Rocky Ledge from Lakeshore to the city limits, Omar from Poland Avenue to Argonne, Sells from Poland Avenue to the east end of the road, Water from Broad to the north end of the road, Runge Boulevard from Hamilton to the north end of the road, Woodbine from Highland to Chestnut, and Perry from Lowville Road to the end of the Brick. We sent out a text message earlier today. The schedule, we will be updated daily on that. We also have the Beirut Memorial Service this Saturday. This is in honor of the fallen personnel lost in Beirut on October 23rd, 1983. This will be held this Saturday, October 16th at 6 a.m. for the candlelight service, and again at 1 o'clock p.m. for the main service. Both are at Hamilton Lake. The EPA dam removal site visit. Last week we had a meeting at Eastgate Regional Council of Governments. The Ohio Environmental Protection Agency visited the Struthers dam removal site, and we're very pleased with the progression. We should be finishing this up in the next few months. I was also able to attend the Impact Ohio Mahoning Valley Regional Conference to hear about the work being done to revolutionize manufacturing in the Mahoning Valley, and other panel discussions followed. The Mothy Park Meeting Room, this is something new that we added to our website. You can now view a 3D virtual walkthrough of the Mothy Park Meeting Room. You can visit our website to see this. This 3D, the capturing of this room, we may use on other buildings, maybe in Caslow, to help promote the leasing of different spaces. Animal Charity of Ohio, they will be holding their annual drive-through spaghetti dinner on South Meridian Road in Youngstown on November 10th from 4 to 7. I believe you all also have a flyer for the trunk or treat that the Block Watch is going to be holding. And then, Megan, I didn't know if you wanted to add here under my report, since you're here, instead of me speaking about it, the Build-A-Bed, which we'll have more information next council meeting.
That'll be November 6th from 8 a.m. to 12.
So anybody who can be there to help build the beds for that, it would be greatly appreciated. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Questions or comments for our mayor at this time? If none, report of standing committees.
Finance legislation for October 20th at 6:15.
Any other questions or any other committees? If none, we have 9 pieces of legislation tonight. At this time, if anyone wishes to address council on legislation only, you wish to come up, state your name and address for the record, and this would be for legislation only at this time. If none, okay. Megan, can you read number 1?
Number 1, an ordinance establishing the rates at which Aqua Ohio, Inc. shall furnish water to the city of Struthers and its inhabitants thereof for and during the term commencing January 1st, 2021 and extending through December 31st, 2025.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I need a motion to send this to a third reading.
Second.
What's that, Lori?
I said make a motion to send it to a third reading.
Okay, Ronnie seconds it.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Abstain.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Number 2, ordinance.
Number 2, an ordinance adopting the rules and regulations governing the rental and use of Struthers Multipurpose Center and made part of Struthers Codified Chapter 959 Mothy Park, Section 959.01, Struthers Multipurpose Center, and repealing ordinance number 18-013 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency.
Okay, council, you heard the ordinance. I need a motion to suspend the rules of council, place the ordinance for passage. Dallas makes a motion to suspend.
Second.
Jim makes a second.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Yes.
Questions or comments under suspension? Need a motion to pass as read?
Motion passes read.
Dallas?
Second.
Jim, thank you.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Thank you. Number 3, ordinance.
Number 3, an ordinance adopting the rules and regulations governing the rental and use of the Struthers Rotary Pavilion at Mothy Park and made part of the Struthers Codified Chapter 959 Mothy Park, Section 959.02, Struthers Rotary Pavilion, repealing ordinance number 18-014 and any ordinance inconsistent herewith and declaring an emergency.
Okay, council, you heard the reading of the ordinance. I need a motion to suspend the rules of council and place the ordinance for passage.
So moved.
Ronnie makes a motion.
Yep.
Dallas seconds it.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Questions or comments under suspension? Need a motion to pass as read.
Pass as read.
Second.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4, an ordinance amending Chapter 532 of the codified ordinances for the city of Struthers, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, council, you heard the reading of the ordinance. I need a motion to suspend the rules of council. Place the ordinance for passage. Bob?
Make a motion to suspend the rules of council and place the ordinance up for passage.
Second it. Dallas?
Second the motion.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Questions or comments under suspension? Oh, that was. Duh. Okay, need a motion to suspend the rules of council.
No,
Bob?
motion passes read.
Passes read.
Second.
Second. Clerk, call the roll again.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Number 5.
Number 5, an ordinance creating Chapter 1307 of the codified ordinances of City of Struthers, Ohio, to provide for the abatement of public nuisances existing on real property within the city and declaring an emergency. Sorry.
Okay, council, you heard the reading of the ordinance. I need a motion to suspend the rules of council and place the ordinance for passage. Megan?
Suspend the rules of council, the ordinance up for passage.
Second. Ron seconds it.
Hold on.
Clerk, call the roll.
Yep, hold on a second. Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Question or comments under suspension? Need a motion to pass as read.
Motion to pass as read.
Aiken makes a motion.
Second.
Ronnie, thank you.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley? Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Number 6.
Number 6, an ordinance creating Chapter 1309 of the codified ordinances of City of Struthers, Ohio, to provide for the administrative enforcement of property code violations and declaring an emergency.
Okay, council, you heard the reading of the ordinance. Need a motion to suspend the rules of council, place the ordinance for passage. Bob, make a motion.
Make a motion to suspend the rules of council and place the ordinance up for passage.
Megan seconds it.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Questions or comments under suspension? Need a motion to
I just
pass.
want to make a comment.
Yeah, sure.
Basically,
on the last 3 that we just passed, it gives our
Code
ordinance enforcement officer a little more bite into getting things done around the city and taking it out of the court system, which has been a long delay on processing claims and stuff like that. So at first it might be a little bit slow, but I think we'll see some more progress at a quicker pace now with this in order. Thanks.
Sure. Okay, need a motion to pass as read. Bob
Motion
made a
passes
motion.
read.
Clerk, call the roll.
Yep. Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pingley?
Yes.
Number 7.
Number 7, an ordinance amending section 521.15 of the codified ordinances of City of Struthers, Ohio, and declaring an emergency.
Okay, thank you. Need a motion, suspend the rules of council, place the ordinance for passage. Alex makes a motion.
Make a motion to suspend the rules of council and place the ordinance up for passage.
Second.
Megan seconds it.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Yes.
Questions or comments under suspension? Need a motion to pass as read.
Motion to pass is read.
Second. Megan seconds it.
Okay. Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Yes.
Number 8.
Number 8, an ordinance authorizing the Safety Service Director to advertise for bids for the purchase of application of crack sealant to various city streets for a sum not to exceed $20,000, and the Board of Control to enter into contract with the lowest and best bidder and declaring an emergency.
Okay, council, you heard the reading of the ordinance. I need a motion, suspend the rules of council, place the ordinance for passage. Ron makes a motion.
Yes.
Second.
Megan seconds it.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Yes.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment on basically how important this is to maintain the integrity of our roads. Being that we update so many a year, and we want to protect the longevity of those. And I'm really glad to see that we're going to be doing this again. And I was really glad to speak to Safety Service Director Daly on the approach of which streets will be done. I think it's a far smarter way to do it. And that's it. Important. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, I need a motion to pass as read.
Pass is read.
Second.
Megan seconds it.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Yes.
Okay, number 9. Number 9 is a resolution.
It's a resolution and it's the final reading. Third reading, a resolution in support of becoming an AARP age-friendly community.
Okay. I need a motion to pass this resolution as read.
Motion passes read.
Second. Adela seconds it.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, council. Any unfinished business? New business. Report our law director, John.
I have no report, Mr. President.
John,
Question-
I just would like you to comment on that I asked you about that up on Sexton Street.
Yes, the property owner was cited for each of the properties that she owns over there. There were 2 citations issued for each property. My understanding is she's been served with those citations already and is supposed to come into court next week for a first appearance. So we're dealing with her.
Any other questions, comments for our law director? Report our auditor.
I have no statistical data for you, and that I reserve for the last meeting of the month normally. I just wanted to add that as the year is coming to a close, a reminder that November 1st will start our necessary spending phase. This allows us to close out the year in a timely fashion. Also, as most of you know, Treasurer Carselli has chosen to not seek to continue his office, so I'm hopeful we will have a treasurer. I believe there's a few write-in candidates, so we will see the outcome of that election. I'm hoping that person can come in and have some time to spend with Mr. Carselli before he ends his tenure here. So I'll keep you posted on how that turnover is going to go. In general, I would say that receipts and expenditures are target, and there basically is not any big surprise or you know, any looming issues that I feel, you know, we're gonna have to discuss. Next week I'll have some legislation for your finance legislation committee. And lastly, but most importantly, I would like to thank the mayor, the SSD, and council for this heartfelt proclamation that brings awareness to this issue that affects so many of our mothers, sisters, and daughters. Spotlighting this issue helps to save lives. It brings encouragement and comfort to so many. I personally appreciate the heartfelt support that I have received and continue to receive here from so many of the wonderful coworkers and friends that, you know, through all of this, I really consider a lot of them family. And I just thank you. It's really, it's appreciated. And how you have all treated me and the grace that you showed me through some of my worst moments in this, I will never forget. So I appreciate it very much. Thank you. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for our auditor? Report of our safety director, Tim.
Yes, our police, they were down 2 officers with COVID, and in that time, there was in 2 different pursuits, and they apprehended 5 people and got 3 guns off the street. I think they did an amazing job. The street department, they're up to 85 ton of hot patch that they've applied so far, and they're up to 75 yards cutting grass. And as far as City Hall, we put new lights in the caucus room and the police garage. Okay, and I have a report from our code enforcement director who couldn't be here tonight. Over the last 30 days, he received 97 landlord registration renewals totaling $2,500. Through the month of September, we sent out 33 code violations, have completed the demolition of 2129 Midlothian, and received 2 in-house complaint forms from Mrs. Pingley and Mr. Carcelli. Both have been addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Any other questions or comments for our safety director?
I have one
Go ahead, Ron.
comment. Up there on Sexton Street, Tim, it's, there's a vehicle parked at Sevy's, you know, by Sevy's up there constantly. And I'd like to see if we could send the police department up there and ticket them because they're parking on the grass constantly.
They've been up there several times.
Are they ticketing them?
That I don't know. I'll look into that.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for our safety director? Okay. Going down to Dresden Council. Anyone wishing to address council, come up, state your name and address for the record. Only thing I'm going to ask you, as we've been saying before, if you come up, there's some sanitary wipes down below. Ask you just to do a fast pass over the top of the podium and the microphone, and there's a waste basket down below. You can dispose of your wipes. Just trying to play smart. We don't know where things are going to go the rest of the year, so we're just trying to be proactive on treating things. Anyone wish to address council? Go ahead. Come on.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Anna Diaz-Dennis. I'm the Mahoney County Fair Housing Coordinator and the Mahoney County Grants Manager. I'm here tonight to talk to you about the Fair Housing Coordinator position and my responsibility to your community and those in Mahoney County. Mahoney County receives Community Housing Improvement Program funding and the Community Development Block Grant funding. Funds from the Department of Development. One of those requirements for receiving those funds is to provide outreach and education in the communities that receive those dollars or sub-awards from those sources. Struthers has an active CHIP program, or Mahoney County Lead Office manages that, I believe, for you. And the Community Development Block Grant, which I manage for the Mahoney County Commissioners, has awarded the city of Struthers an award for improvements on Colin Avenue, which the advertisements for bids, I believe, was in the newspaper today. Regarding the fair housing, should a resident have a complaint of discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, national origin, sex, disability, age, marital status, or ancestry, they can call my office. Examples of prohibited activities in the fair housing realm would be refusal to sell or rent to an individual based on any of those protected classes, to set different terms for any individuals in those protected classes, or to falsely deny housing is available because of any of those protected classes. Locally, my responsibility is administrative. I will make a record of the complaint and insist in providing a resolution to the resident. We first tried to resolve this locally through various sources, the Hunting Valley Dispute Resolution or legal aid. However, should the complaint rise to the occasion, it can and will be referred to the Ohio Civil Rights Commission, regional office located in Akron, Ohio. I brought some pamphlets that describe more clearly what discrimination is based on those protected classes and examples for each. I also have brought a complaint procedure form that you can share with your residents that have come into City Hall or may call you with a complaint, wondering who to contact. So I'm just asking that you make these items available to the public should they need them. Any questions for me? Yes.
I would just like to thank you for your partnership with us, because I know I spent a lot of time on the phone with you and you've explained a lot to me with all of this. I just want to say thank you.
Well, you're very welcome. I enjoy working with Struthers.
And thank you for the update, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Megan, this is for you. Oh, Megan's here.
Yeah, I'll come get it. How are you?
There you go. Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Anyone wish to address council? Please come up, state your name and address for the record. If none, okay. Finance and legislation will be on October 20th, 6 p.m. Dallas, you said 6:15, which do you,
Well, I thought there was a discussion.
that's for the
about-
caucus part.
Okay, if everybody's okay with 6, that's what we've been doing.
Right.
correct? Then let's just
That's
stick with
that's the
that.
caucus part, because she's having a tough time coming from the
I'm
caucus
sorry, I
room and out here with
misunderstood
the
that, but
equipment.
Yeah, 6 o'clock.
Okay. Finance and legislation, October 20th, 6 p.m. I got a couple other local announcements. Beirut Memorial Service will be held Saturday, October 16th, 2020, at the Beirut Memorial at Lake Hamilton. It'll be at 6 a.m. for the candlelight service, and again, there'll be a 1 o'clock service also. Employee Family Flu Clinic, Wednesday, October 20th, from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Must sign up in the mayor's office by September 17th. And Mayor, is that going to be held here at City Hall, the flu shots? It
I
doesn't.
believe it's at Mothy.
Oh, it's
on
going to
the
be held at
20th?
Monty? Yeah,
At
there's
Monty.
no location. So that flu shot clinic will be held at Monty from 7 a.m. to 4. But don't forget, if you wish a flu shot, sign in at the mayor's office September 17th. Junk or treat, Saturday, October 23rd, 3 to 5 p.m. It's at the Christ Lutheran Church, 250 Sexton Street. That will be from 3 to 5. They're asking all to wish to come to their festivities. Need a motion to adjourn the Struthers City Council meeting. Dallas makes a motion. Megan seconds it.
Mr. Ballack?
Yes.
Mr. Beagley?
Yes.
Mr. Burnside?
Yes.
Mr. Carselli?
Yes.
Ms. Greenwood?
Yes.
Ms. Pinkley?
Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.
We may have to get Megan. We might have to get